The 15th mass shooting in just 10 days.
We were in the back conference room. Whoever's next to me got shot and hit bloods on me from it.
Louisville becomes the latest scene of American carnage as mass shootings outnumber the days in the year so far in 2023. We'll have a live report from the ground as we learn new details on the shooter, the victims, and what, if anything, could have been done to prevent this. Plus,
I hope that all of us sharing our stories will help people to not be so hard on themselves and to realize that asking for help is a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness.
Several congressional lawmakers sit down with us and open up about their own mental health after Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman checked himself into a hospital for depression. And
well, I made myself quite small for a very long time, so as not to be a threat, so as not to, rock the boat again.
How Brooke Shields found her voice and developed agency, and tonight is sharing how she is committed to making sure other young girls learn from her past. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kana Whitworth, and I'm in for Lindsay Davis, who is on assignment tonight. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We're following those stories and a lot more, including how authorities are now charging the mother of the 6-year-old who shot his teacher. She's being charged with a felony. Plus, the late news this evening out of Nashville after a special session reinstated one of 2 lawmakers expelled last week. We'll speak to a Republican member who voted to oust those Democrats just days ago. And we'll hear from the 3 legislators at the center of that political battle straight ahead. And now, how one blue state governor is fighting the latest abortion pill restriction by purchasing and holding on to tens of thousands of doses. Out of Washington State, Jay Inslee is coming up. And of course, tonight, our correspondents you see there are fanned out across the country covering those stories and more for us. But of course, we begin today with the 4 people dead. 9 more are injured after a gunman opened fire at a Louisville bank. Police are saying the suspect, a bank employee, was armed with a rifle and began shooting inside Old National Bank this morning. Police arrived at the scene within minutes. A shootout erupted. One officer shot in the head, now in critical condition, had just graduated the academy 10 days ago. The suspect died at the scene. A distraught governor, Andy Beshear, revealed 2 of his closest friends were among those killed, and a 3rd friend was wounded. All of this comes just 2 weeks after that mass shooting at a Tennessee school and the political response in that state's capital that set off a firestorm. And we'll have more on that in a moment. But first, today's shooting is at least the 146th mass shooting in America so far this year. Trevor All leads us off tonight from Louisville.
Tonight, authorities in Louisville, Kentucky say an employee of Old National Bank came to work this morning armed with a rifle, opening fire and live streaming the attack.
Within 3 minutes of being dispatched, officers arrived on scene and encountered the suspect almost immediately, still firing gunshots.
The gunfire echoing through the downtown streets in the middle of the morning rush.
Get out of your car! That's the shooter! That's the bank!
Inside the bank, some locking themselves in bathrooms, others reportedly hiding in the vault. Troy Haste says he ran when he saw the gunman entering their crowded conference room.
He just started, he had a long assault rifle, and you hear the shots just start firing.
What did he look like?
I didn't see his face.
Were you in a meeting?
Yeah, we were in the back conference room. Whoever's next to me got shot and hit bloods on me from it.
The blood still on his shirt. Today, Louisville police reading the names of the 4 victims killed.
Tommy Elliott, 63 years of age. Jim Tutt, 64 years of age. Josh Barrett, 40 years of age. And Juliana Farmer, 57.
Kentucky's Governor Andy Beshear says he was friends with multiple victims, fighting back tears as he remembered his close friend Tommy Elliott.
Tommy Elliott helped me build my law career, helped me become governor, gave me advice on being a good dad. It's one of the people I talk to most in the world, and very rarely were we talking about my job.
2 Louisville Metro police officers were also shot. Officer Nicholas Wilt graduated from the academy just 10 days ago. Today, he was shot in the head and is now in critical condition.
I just swore him in, and his family was there to witness his journey to become a police officer.
Police naming the gunman 25-year-old Connor Sturgeon, saying he was killed in the shootout with authorities. Late today, law enforcement descending on what's believed to be his home. Sturgeon's LinkedIn profile shows he worked full-time at the bank for more than a year and had interned before that. But sources tell ABC News he was recently given notice he was going to be fired, and he left a note to his parents and friends indicating he planned to shoot up the bank. This mass shooting is at least the 15th in the country this month. It comes just 2 weeks after a former student killed 3 children and 3 adults at a Christian elementary school in Nashville.
And Trevor Ault is joining us now there from Louisville. So, Trevor, you honed in on something I did as well. As this investigation continues, do we know the latest on this condition? This rookie officer, as you mentioned, graduated just 10 days ago.
Yeah, I'm brand new to the job, Kana. We know that he was out here with a field training officer because he wasn't even cleared to be out on his own when he responded to the shooting. Officials today said he underwent brain surgery. He's now in stable but still critical condition. And Kana, just a few moments ago, I actually spoke with the mayor of Louisville, who, believe it or not, is already a survivor of another workplace shooting that happened here in this city just a year ago. He told me he's going to spend every hour, every day of his remaining term working to stop gun violence. He called it his #1 priority. Kana.
A serious call to action. Trevor Ault, thank you. And next tonight, the political showdown drawing national scrutiny. Tennessee lawmakers racing to reinstate 2 expelled lawmakers less than a week after they were ousted by the Republican-led state assembly. Now, moments ago, Nashville's Metro Council voting to return Justin Jones to the legislature, filling his own vacant seat. His colleague, Justin Pearson, could be reappointed as early as Wednesday. ABC's Alex Perez is in Nashville with that story.
Tonight, with hundreds rallying in support, Nashville City Council moving swiftly to reinstate expelled lawmaker Justin Jones. Local officials using their powers to return Jones to his seat in an emergency meeting.
I think there's a message that's being sent that we believe in representative democracy. And he was the one that got voted in, and so we're going to send him right back.
Voters are frustrated by the Republican supermajority's vote to expel Justin Jones and Justin Pearson from the Tennessee State House after they held a protest on the floor of the chamber with Representative Gloria Johnson. All 3 asking lawmakers to do more to protect children and teachers after the Nashville shooting that killed 3 9-year-olds, a principal, a teacher, and a beloved janitor.
We will not be silent.
Republicans say they violated decorum rules during that protest. In Nashville, where Justin Jones was elected, voter Brian Hardy calling the move outrageous.
They're trying to control guns. I mean, we need that. There's a lot of violence out here, a lot of people dying for no reason. And when they spoke up, I mean, they were penalized for basically nothing, and it wasn't right.
Republican legislators admonishing them.
Just because you don't get your way, you can't come to the well, bring your friends, and throw a temper tantrum with an adolescent bullhorn.
Representative Pearson on the floor.
We're not talking about politics. We're not talking about even gun violence. How many of you would want to be spoken to that way?
They are now being called a Tennessee 3. Gloria Johnson, who survived expulsion, asked why she wasn't removed.
Why do you feel like there was a difference in the outcome between you and your colleague?
I will answer your question. It might have to do with the color of our skin.
I think there's no coincidence that the 2 youngest black lawmakers were kicked out by an almost entirely white 75-member caucus on strictly partisan lines.
Commissioners in Memphis considering similar measures to reinstate Justin Pearson.
What we are seeing is the erosion of our democracy. What we are seeing is an attack not only on the First Amendment, but the erosion of our democracy that should be of concern to everybody, regardless of political party.
So Alex is joining us now there from Nashville. So Alex, with this unanimous vote passing for the reinstatement of Justin Jones, when could he actually be back in the State House? And then also, what do we know about his colleague, Justin Pearson?
Well, Kana, things moving very quickly here. The city council reinstated Justin Jones, and in less than an hour, those documents, that certification was taken over to the state legislature, and he was sworn back in. So he's now officially back part of the House of Representatives here in Tennessee. As for Pearson, a special meeting has been scheduled to talk about his reinstatement for Wednesday afternoon. Kana?
All right, things moving quickly. Alex, our thanks to you. Now, before that critical vote in Tennessee, Nightline anchor Juju Chang sat down with those 3 Democratic lawmakers at the center of this political battle to talk about what led to the vote that sparked a national debate, not only on gun control, but also on free speech in their state's legislative body, and why they think this could be a turning point in their state's history.
Let's start with the protests. As they're sort of erupting around the State House, paint a picture for me of what was going on and how did you get swept up into it?
So I represent a part of Nashville. Nashville is a community that's in grieving. And so thousands of children and students and parents and grandparents, clergy, community members came to the Capitol. It was the largest protest we've seen in a decade at the State House, begging us to act. The majority party silenced any conversation around the issue of gun violence. They silenced us as representatives. The speaker wouldn't even call on anybody else to speak. Our microphone was cut off. That's why, I brought a megaphone, because the microphone was cut off.
Our people are asking us to act. There's thousands of them.
Justin, how did you get swept up in it? Were you planning this event on the floor?
No, I think what happened was the people in our community were being silenced by the people who were supposed to represent them. And on that day, instead of the House of Representatives saying, this is the moment where we are going to pass just legislation, this is the moment where we're going to prioritize ending gun violence, instead, we really tried to do just business as usual.
I hereby declare the House of Representatives of the 113th General Assembly now in session.
Gloria, what was it like? Before you were a legislator, you were an educator. You taught for 27 years.
I taught for 27 years, and I was present at a school shooting. We had a school shooting in 2008 at Central High School in Knoxville and lost a student. It just all comes back to you. You will never forget the day that I saw all those kids running down the hill, screaming and crying to my classroom.
One could argue that for you, this is personal.
It's absolutely personal. There's no question about it. The biggest problem in Tennessee right now, since we have constitutional carry, you can have your guns anywhere, anytime. People are stealing guns out of cars. That's how people are getting guns. I've brought red flag laws twice. I brought safe storage laws, and they get killed in subcommittee immediately on a party line vote. And their arguments are terrible. That's the thing that's so depressing. They really can't tell why they don't want to pass these bills, but they just refuse.
Clearly, there's a supermajority of Republicans in Tennessee, and yet poll after poll says even 80% of NRA members want common sense gun laws. Explain to me that disconnect.
That's really outrageous. I did polling this past year for my election on guns and gun sense legislation. We polled Republicans, Independents, and Democrats. The majority of all 3 of those groups were in favor of red flag laws in a red county. It's not a partisan issue, but that's what we're seeing when we're talking about that erosion of democracy.
Tell me, when you got wind that there was going to be an expulsion vote.
I hereby declare Representative Justin Jones of the 57th Representative District expelled from the House of Representatives of the 113th Assembly of the State of Tennessee.
What was your reaction to it? Any of you? And what? Yeah, shock.
Complete shock. We are being persecuted because we exercise our First Amendment right and our responsibility as legislators to listen to the voice of the people. We were told we broke a House decorum rule.
For a long time, Tennessee has not been a democracy, and I would dare say we're the most undemocratic state. It's important to know that even before the expulsion vote happened, the Speaker already took action to punish us. So all my committees were stripped from me. Our ID badges that all of us as representatives have to access our offices, to access the building, was shut off. We couldn't get into the building without asking the troopers to let us in. But then the Speaker went on national television and escalated the situation by calling what happened an insurrection.
He basically said that you were like the January 6th protesters.
That's what he said, and what that did is it created this false narrative of violence. When our protest was doing the opposite, we were calling for the end of violence, the end of gun violence, so that our children could live.
You two are among the youngest, I think, African-American legislators in the body. One of the Republicans was quoted as saying that you brought disorder and dishonor to the body. How would you respond to that?
The Tennessee House of Representatives has been out of order. When you silence the voices of duly elected lawmakers, there is no order. When you perpetuate these narratives of systemic racism that target members of color,
when we were expelled and they held this kangaroo court of a trial against us, what I think people across the world saw was that the belief that we have about democracy in the United States of America is not true. That we are not living in what we thought was a democracy when there are people in positions of power who can wield that power and influence against individuals at will for breaking House decorum rules when we know that there's more there. What is there is the voice of people saying we want to end gun violence.
And our thanks to Juju Chang for that interview. But now, joining us is Tennessee State Republican Representative Sabi Kumar. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time. And tonight, Representative, as you know, Justin Jones back on the floor of the House. This comes after you and fellow Republicans voted to expel him and Representative Justin Pearson for what was described as disorderly behavior on the House floor. So the Speaker of the House says that he will not prevent either of them from being seated. Can I ask you, will your party try to expel the representative, at least specifically Representative Jones, again?
First things first, I would like to acknowledge the terrible tragedy of March 27 in Nashville and what happened as a result of that. It has affected lives in our community. There is a lot of pain, there is a lot of hurt, and there's a lot of healing to do. It is very sad to see that in the face of that tragedy, this attention is shifted to these three representatives or these two representatives who were expelled. They have taken the attention away from under the guise and under the name of wishing to control guns, as if they were to take over the House of Representatives, the problem will be solved. It's a complex situation. Our heart goes out. We personally know some of the people who have had a family loss, and it has touched many lives, including, as you know, that a very close friend to the First Lady of Tennessee was one of the casualties in this terrible tragedy. So in a way, these representatives have claimed as if that they are there to protect the children of Tennessee. No, Tennessee is a loving people, loving state, and yes, we care deeply about children. And actually, the very next day, the governor dedicated $140 million to make sure security is available at schools, including private schools, not only public schools. Now, that is acting quickly and with an effort that would right away protect children. Yes, gun control is a much larger debate. Now, let me get back to your original question, which is that why did we expel them? Sadly, these three people, when they arrived at the Tennessee legislature, well, two of them arrived this year, and Representative Johnson has been here 8 to 10 years. She has sometimes lost election and come back. When they arrived with a very demanding, rules don't apply to me, disorderly conduct, very repeatedly harassing the committees, speaking out of order, demanding more time than is allowed to everybody else. And let me give you an example. So you have a roll call vote where the answers, there are 4 possibilities in a roll call vote. When your name is called on a particular issue, you either say yes, you say no, you say present, or you stay silent. Those are the 4 choices. But the choice is not for Representative Johnson to say, responding to a roll call vote when her name is called, for her to say, hell no. This is a state where babies have babies, where this is happening. Healthcare is not available. She indulges into a 3-minute speech. That is disorderly conduct. And
I understand you're highlighting what you view as breaking those House decorum rules. I absolutely understand.
This is more than decorum. This is silencing other voices. This is not decorum. These people have claimed their First Amendment right. First Amendment right is not a right that you can silence everybody else and exercise your own. That is not First Amendment right.
Right, and of course, lawmakers believe that they are putting out the words for their constituents. But let's talk about this also. A lot of people have called into question the rationale behind expelling both African-American lawmakers, but not Representative Gloria Johnson, who is white, some calling it racist. In your opinion, was it? Or in your opinion, why did she remain?
One of my remarks on the floor of the House was that to Representative Jones, you look at everything through the lens of race. The fact that Representative Johnson received 65 votes for expulsion, 66 are needed. The reason is that 2 of the representatives have to leave. One who went to their grandfather's funeral, another representative who is a fellow physician, friend of mine, who became ill, needed to go to the hospital. I am the one who evaluated him along with the nurse in the legislature, and I called his son to come and pick him up. Those were the things that happened where people left and Representative Johnson was not indicted. No, there is no favoritism. If 65 people voted to expel Representative Johnson and 66 votes were needed, that there is no favoritism. It is blatant use of racism. It is very sad when people who commit racism claim that they are fighting racism. That is really, really an irony and a tragedy. I can further give you an example of racism by Representative Jones if you think we have time.
I think we should move on to the subject of gun control for a moment here. You mentioned the governor and the quick action of some lawmakers. You're talking about the request for armed security guards at schools throughout Tennessee. Let me ask you about red flag laws. There are none in Tennessee, and that would allow police to take firearms away from people who threaten to kill. In your opinion, do you think that's something the state should consider?
Certainly, no doubt about it. I'm a physician. I have seen the carnage and the damage and the destruction that guns can do. I have treated patients. I have operated all night to save trauma patients. I'm aware of guns and what needs to be done about them. Most states really do not have a red flag laws. Florida has recently passed one, and certainly we would consider it. I mean, we want sensible gun laws, again, to protect our society. We owe it to our children and our community. Certainly, there's no doubt about it. For these people to claim that we don't have these laws, my question to them is, after the Uvalde shooting in 2022, federal government was going to pass meaningful gun control. What happened? Why did they not ban assault weapons? Why did they not pass a red flag laws? Why did they not do the things that are being thrown at us? You don't do this, you don't do that. Why did the federal government not do that? Instead of putting $750 million towards mental health. But the point is, it could not get done at the federal level at a time that the Democratic Party controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency, all 3 branches. And yet, the 2022, it was known as bipartisan gun safety bill or whatever. What did it do? Why did they not do the things that you are promoting now? Yes, certainly, that does not take away from the merit of those things. And certainly, we will consider those, but it is not going to happen if we have representatives come and basically take the House of Representatives hostage. That is not the way to get it done. They are members of this body. Why did they not do the normal thing, which will be to introduce legislation? Make us vote, put us online.
Yeah.
Why not? But really, I'm very disappointed that you did not want me to talk about the racist act by Representative Jones, who called me a brownface. And this is on video. It is on tape.
I've seen the video.
Okay?
And
if you want me to send it to you, I'll send it to you. But you are being, that is where I felt the way this tape was going before, while I was sitting here watching, I was concerned that I was being set up. And I think
you were not being set up.
But you're silencing my voice because you don't want to go there.
We are absolutely not silencing your voice, Representative. We value your opinion and we value your time, and I appreciate you talking with us. Representative Sabi Kumar, thank you so much for your time tonight. We have new developments tonight involving the 6-year-old boy accused of shooting and wounding his teacher in Virginia. The boy's mother, Deja Taylor, has now been charged with a felony, charged with child neglect and a misdemeanor, accused of recklessly leaving a loaded firearm accessible to her child. The child's teacher, Abigail Werner, has filed a lawsuit against the school board saying she warned the school that the child had a gun with him that day. Taylor's attorney says she will turn herself into police this week. And now to the legal clash over the nationwide access to abortion medication mifepristone. The Justice Department is seeking an emergency stay after a Texas judge ruled to strike down the FDA's approval of the drug after 2 decades of use, a ruling that would remove it from the shelves. ABC's Rachel Scott has the latest.
Tonight, the Justice Department filing an emergency appeal trying to block a federal judge's ruling that would revoke the FDA's approval of the abortion drug mifepristone and take it off the market as soon as Friday. The DOJ writing, if allowed to take effect, the court's order would thwart FDA's scientific judgment and severely harm women.
And then this is the medicine for tomorrow. So you'll do the first dose.
The abortion pill was approved by the FDA more than 20 years ago and is used in more than half of all abortions in the U.S. But the Texas judge appointed by former President Donald Trump arguing the FDA's approval was based on plainly unsound reasoning. Tonight, executives from more than 400 pharmaceutical and biotech companies blasted the ruling, writing it ignores decades of scientific evidence and legal precedent. If courts can overturn drug approvals without regard for science or evidence, any medicine is at risk for the same outcome as mifepristone. Some Democrats and even some Republicans now urging the White House to defy the judge's order entirely.
This is an FDA-approved drug. I support the usage of FDA-approved drugs, even if we might disagree. It's not up to us to decide as legislators or even, as the court system that whether or not this is the right drug to use or not, number one. So I agree with ignoring it at this point.
Hours after the Texas ruling came down, a judge in Washington state issuing a contradictory ruling, blocking any change to status quo rights as it's related to the availability of mifepristone. But that ruling only applies to the 36 states where it is currently legal. The Texas ruling would apply to every state. Anti-abortion rights advocates preparing for a long legal battle.
Obviously, this is not the last stage and the last word on this issue, and we're ready to go to the next stage.
Now some Democratic governors building up a stockpile of the drug in case it's taken off the market.
At my request, the University of Massachusetts Amherst agreed to purchase approximately 15,000 doses of mifepristone. That's enough. That's sufficient to ensure coverage for well over a year.
Washington State already purchasing a 3-year supply.
Washington State will not allow a judge in Texas to deny the right of Washington women to this safe drug.
And Rachel Scott is in New York tonight joining us. And Rachel, clearly this looks to be destined for the Supreme Court. What if that happens?
Okay, it is widely expected to go to the Supreme Court. And the bench is a conservative supermajority. You have the 6 conservative justices outnumbering the 3 liberals. But this will be the first major test of abortion rights since the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade nearly a year ago, Kana.
Wow, Rachel, thank you. And turning now to Washington, where the Pentagon reports that highly classified Ukraine documents have been leaked online and is conducting an investigation. Officials say these leaks present a, quote, very serious risk to national security. Senior leaders are taking steps to mitigate the situation. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has reached out to the allies in the wake of these leaks. The documents are labeled top secret and have been circulating on social media, where these slides included equipment schedules to support Ukraine, assessments of losses, U.S. surveillance, and key allies. Also tonight, the Dalai Lama apologizing today after video circulating online showed the 87-year-old hugging and then kissing a young boy on the lips in India, and then asking the child to suck on his tongue. The Dalai Lama later apologizing, saying His Holiness often teases people he meets and that he regrets the incident. The backlash has caused a stir on social media, as many deem the situation inappropriate. However, others are demanding the Dalai Lama, citing a Western media narrative that doesn't appropriately depict what occurred. We'll still a lot more to get to here on Prime. Coming up, you may want to think twice about where you plug in your phone. The warning from the FBI about charging stations. But next, in our prime focus, Senator John Fetterman, receiving inpatient treatment for his clinical depression, has opened a conversation with Congress. Could his experience spark a more meaningful conversation and even legislation around mental health?
I remember when I started going to the therapist, I try to find as many ways possible to hide that I was going to a therapist. And it's been, what a sea change that I don't have to do that anymore.
With so much happening these days, it's hard to keep up.
Things change hour by hour, minute by minute.
The historic weather that's now unfolding.
The worries on Wall Street.
We're bringing you the Right Now. But a nationwide teacher shortage.
The Right Now look at the day ahead. An alert this morning for dog owners and the key takeaways from the biggest stories.
World News Now and America This Morning, America's #1 early morning news.
Today does feel a little different. Early mornings on ABC News Live.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
And welcome back. Senator John Fetterman is expected to return to work on Capitol Hill next week after more than 5 weeks of inpatient treatment for clinical depression. Fetterman received bipartisan support when he announced his hospitalization, with some lawmakers sharing their own personal and family experiences. So could this be an inflection point in our nation's conversation around mental health? ABC's Brittany Shepard recently sat down for an exclusive group interview with 4 members of Congress, including 2 Iraq War veterans who have all faced mental health struggles and are coming forward to share their stories in tonight's Prime Focus.
I want to start by thanking you all for meeting me and having this very important, I think sometimes tough conversation about mental health. I think it's best to start if everyone could go around and briefly explain in your own words in a minute what mental health struggles you've personally faced.
Look, I suffer from PTSD from the war. You know, I sometimes feel a lot of regret. I feel sometimes that I should have gone instead of some of my guys that went. And sometimes I feel maybe a little hypersensitive about my surroundings.
So I first experienced depression when I was in my late teens, when I was in college, and recovered from that, and then had another experience with depression when I was a young mom in my 30s. Both times I was able to get care and treatment, first when I was in college, and then later when I had a therapist who helped me figure out that I was experiencing clinical depression and helped me over time heal.
So I dealt with post-traumatic stress after Iraq. And it took me a while to come to terms with the fact that I even had it, because I didn't have the worst symptoms. I would wake up in cold sweats and have terrible dreams, but I was able to go to graduate school. I was able to hold down a job. A lot of vets can't even do those simple things. But when I came to terms with the fact that I had it, I got treatment.
I struggled with depression. Back in 2007, I dropped out of college, dropped out of NYU, because I found myself struggling with depression. There were moments when I even attempted suicide. I was admitted into Columbia Presbyterian, where I was formally diagnosed with major depressive disorder. And ever since then, I've been managing the condition. And I never thought I would make it to the United States Congress, despite my lifelong struggle with depression.
The reason we're all sitting together right now is that your colleague, Senator John Fetterman, is dealing with his clinical depression. I just want to bring you guys back to that moment when that news broke. Do you guys remember how that made you feel?
Well, you know, I spent a lot of time with John actually the day that he checked himself into the hospital because we were having a retreat amongst all of our caucus members. And so, I mean, my initial feeling was just one of intense empathy.
I was scared for him, though, too, because I know when you start talking about some of the mental illness you may have or what you're dealing with, that there's also people that will target you for it. They will try to tear you down. They'll try to use it against you, against your family.
It reminded me of my own hospitalization. And for me, Senator Fetterman is a hero because he has the courage to tell his truth about his struggle with depression in the public square.
It's been 50 years since George McGovern removed Senator Thomas Eagleton from that presidential ticket when it came to light that Eagleton had been hospitalized for depression. Not only that, but also was receiving electroshock therapy. When you think about McGovern and Eagleton, how much has changed for you? And perhaps more importantly, how far do we have to go still?
When I had been in the Senate for about a year, I made the decision to give a speech on the floor of the Senate about my own experience with depression. There is no magic cure for depression. There is no magic bill to solve this problem. I mean, it felt pretty scary to do that on the floor of the United States Senate. Senator Eagleton was in my mind even though that seems like a long, long time ago. Of course, you never really know how people are judging you because the people that are judging you rarely judge you to your face, right? Yeah. They usually judge you behind your back.
Or on Twitter.
Well, now you can judge you right in your DMs,
yeah,
right?
Look right on Twitter, you'll see them.
But it's scary.
Exactly.
Were any of you guys scared to go, oh my gosh, I'm putting myself out there like this in a way that I don't know how it's going to land?
I thought it might end my career. I thought I could be out of politics the next day when I told my story about dealing with post-traumatic stress. And honestly, I think that is as close as maybe 10 years ago, that might have been the case. Instead of being castigated, I remember how many people in the next few days and weeks came up to me and just opened up about their own stories. I mean, people from all over America I'd never met before, but even close colleagues, friends, people in my office who I had no idea were seeing therapists or getting mental health care. Said, you know, I do that too, Seth.
Yeah. How does it make you feel when you guys hear that?
Well, I think one thing it makes me feel is that, well, though I'm dealing with this, at least I'm doing something good. I'm encouraging people to actually be honest about this. Maybe I'm encouraging people to go seek help that we're hesitant to seek help. And, you know, it's worth everything I think that we've gone through.
Telling our stories is a form of public service. You know, we represent people who are deeply affected by mental health conditions like depression, anxiety, who want to see themselves in their elected officials. And I felt like I had a profound obligation to confront the culture of silence and stigma and shame that often surrounds the subject of mental health. And as public figures, we're in a unique position to do so and to inspire hope for the people we represent.
Do you feel like there's legitimate criticism there, though, from a constituent saying, I don't know how I feel, but somebody who is going to be in briefings and, you know, making our laws dealing with their own acute mental health?
I think it's totally legitimate to ask the question, right? But don't just jump right in to criticize. You know, ask the question, but then let's have a conversation about this, because we have made tremendous progress dealing with the stigma, but we have so much further to go.
I think the fact that the four of us are here is a sign of progress, but the fact that only four of us are here is a sign that we have a distance to travel. There are 535 members in Congress. I suspect we're not the only four.
I'm pretty sure it's not just that, right?
Yes.
Especially, you know, it's interesting you said I remember when I started going to the therapist, I try to find as many ways possible to hide that I was going to a therapist. And it's been, what a sea change that I don't have to do that anymore.
What do you think that Congress can do? Is there more to be done legislatively on mental health? And there's any particular legislation that you would like to spotlight right now?
I co-authored the bill to establish 988, the new National Mental Health Hotline, and it was implemented this past July. We passed it a couple years ago. And just since July, calls are up about 50%.
Wow.
So 50% more Americans are getting help than just a year ago. But here's what's even more amazing. Texts, which of course generally used by younger Americans, texts are up 1,445%.
Wow.
Which speaks to how many more young Americans are getting help, but also
how many did it for so long. And that's, I mean, if you don't start working at this, it gets harder and harder.
And I'm wondering if all of you can go through why it's been worth it for you. You guys are all four political leaders, and that just one person, one constituent, one viewer can hear your story and that have a profound impact.
My message to people who are listening to this, your brain can get help. You can heal. And I hope that all of us sharing our stories will help people to not be so hard on themselves and to realize that asking for help is a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness.
Look, I just did it because I want to be a better father. And that's why I did it.
You seem to be getting a little emotional.
Yeah, it happens once in a while.
Can you tell me how you're feeling right now?
Look, I don't know. I mean, I feel emotional. I went down this journey because I was worried I wasn't going to be a good father. And that's why I'll continue forward.
Congressman?
You go into public service because you want to make a difference in people's lives. And I think passing 988 is just probably the single most impactful thing I've done in Congress, because I hear from people across the country who say, you know, that saved my life. And you know what, the risk was worth it too, right? Because telling my story, telling our stories, I mean, if that had cost any of our political careers, and yet we saved just one life by doing that, it's worth it.
I'm with Seth. If telling your story saves one life or makes one person have a little less pain, a little more hope, that makes it worthwhile. And you know, I worry about, I'm a millennial, but I worry about Generation Z. You know, it's the first generation to grow up on social media. It's a generation that was hit hard by the isolation of COVID-19. Those are two massive mental health events. And so I feel like the need for mental health care has taken on the fierce urgency of now.
That was an incredibly enlightening conversation. We have a lot more to get to here tonight. Coming up, classes and research. They're halted at a university as nearly 10,000 faculty members walk out of the classrooms, the demands they want met before returning. Also, terrifying moments inside a mosque when an imam is stabbed during prayers. What the video shows the worshipers doing to the suspect. But next, the 2023 Masters is over and a Spanish golfer took home the green jacket. We take a look at the scorecard and the payout by the numbers.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers
in Putin's Russia.
on the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
You're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
From America's #1 news comes the all-new ABC News app. Breaking news, incredible video, faster, smarter, and customizable to your interests. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now.
Reporting from the earthquake in Turkey, I'm David Muir. Wherever the story, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
And welcome back. The 2023 Masters is in the books, and when the sun set on Sunday's final round, it was a Spanish star wearing the green jacket, and here's the scorecard by the numbers. 28-year-old Jon Rahm pulled away from Brooks Koepka and the rest of the field to claim the 87th Masters Championship. Rahm becomes the 4th Spanish player to win at Augusta, and he did it 40 years after his idol, Spanish legend Seve Ballesteros, won his 2nd major title there. Now, Rahm had to play a marathon 30 holes Sunday after some dangerous Georgia weather postponed play on Friday and Saturday. Even some of those tall pines fell onto the course. Thankfully, no one was hurt. The win puts Rahm back on top as the world's #1 player, and he also walks away with $3.24 million in prize money, a new record payout for the tournament. In a funny twist, there's this tweet from Rahm. Look at that. It was posted in 2013. It went viral. That is a fortune that he got at Panda Express that he took as a sign that he would one day be the Masters champ. He was a sophomore in college when he got that, you guys. Rahm wasn't the only storyline. At 52 years old, former PGA favorite turned star of the Saudi-backed Live Golf Tour, Phil Mickelson, became the oldest ever runner-up at Augusta, hitting a tournament low of 65 5 in his final round on Sunday. And it was a disappointing weekend for Tiger Woods, who was playing in his 25th Masters but withdrew in the 3rd round due to plantar fasciitis after he was seen limping on the course there. The 5-time Masters winner was 22 strokes off the lead when he pulled the plug on what could have been his final appearance at Augusta. That's hard to believe. Well, there's much more ahead here on Prime. A couple of Philadelphia schools are forced to close their doors. The dangerous substance found on the campuses. And Brooke Shields spent her childhood and her teens in the spotlight, many of her roles stirring controversy. Well, she's now looking back at how she was sexualized on screen and the consequences of the backlash.
I really do understand the controversy, but nobody else was brought into any of it. There was no accountability to anyone.
What does it take to be America's #1 news? It takes asking the straightforward, tough questions.
Do you believe that Donald Trump should ever be president again?
How would your mom feel about your relationship with your brother now?
I can't imagine what it feels like to go from $20 billion to $100,000.
Yeah.
Are you worried about going to jail?
You write that you had low-grade depression. How'd you get out of that?
The news-making interviews.
You said that there were 6 friends. One of them was sick.
Yeah.
Do you have future political aspirations?
Going to the front line.
The search for survivors. How does this war end?
And getting to the heart of the story.
Thank you for being here. We'll be here for the long run.
ABC News, #1 in the morning, the #1 newscast, #1 in daytime talk, Friday nights, Sunday mornings versus the competition, and the #1 streaming news. Thank you for making ABC News America's trusted, straightforward first choice.
And welcome back. Thousands of faculty members walk out of a classroom at a university. The tense moments at a mosque after an imam is stabbed during prayer. And a warning from the FBI about where you charge your cell phones. These stories and more in tonight's rundown.
Some 9,000 academic workers at Rutgers University, including professors and graduate student workers, have launched a strike. The unions representing the workers said contract negotiations have been ongoing for almost a year. The unions have been seeking salary increases, a higher minimum wage for campus workers, and new standards for racial and gender equity, among other demands. The university says many classes will still meet as negotiations continue. It's the first strike in the school's more than 250-year history. The Florida man accused of fatally shooting 3 people, including a 9-year-old girl and a local news reporter, pled not guilty during an in-jail arraignment. Keith Moses' trial is set to begin in June. Moses had been indicted on first-degree murder charges by a grand jury. In February, he allegedly killed Natasha Augustine, then later that same day killed 9-year-old Tiana Major, as well as 24-year-old news reporter Dylan Lyons, as he was covering Augustine's murder. A 32-year-old man is facing multiple charges, including attempted murder, after he allegedly stabbed an imam at a New Jersey mosque. Sarif Zorba allegedly attacked the man at the Omar Mosque in Patterson Sunday morning. Video appears to show worshipers subduing Zorba after the attack. The 65-year-old victim was hospitalized for non-fatal stab wounds.
A new lawsuit claims that late NFL quarterback Dwayne Haskins was drugged on the night of his death as part of an alleged blackmail and robbery conspiracy against him. The lawsuit was filed in Florida by Haskins' family. Haskins was killed in April 2022 after being struck by a dump truck while walking on a highway. A toxicology report found Haskins was legally drunk at the time and had tested positive for ketamine and norketamine. The lawsuit accuses 4 defendants of drugging Haskins and also accuses the dump truck driver of negligence. 2 Philadelphia schools have been shut down due to asbestos concerns. The school district said Friday that Frankford High School and Mitchell Elementary had closed their buildings after new sampling found they contained asbestos. The district said Frankford would shift to virtual learning and Mitchell would close its building and seek a temporary location for the rest of the year. The discovery comes after 2 other district-owned and managed buildings were also found to have asbestos.
While public charging stations may be convenient for charging your phone on the go, there's a new warning to be careful where you plug in. The FBI field office in Denver tweeted a warning to be careful about using these stations, saying the plugs might have malware and monitoring software which can give your data to hackers. The FBI says instead people should carry their own cables and chargers wherever they go and use a traditional outlet instead.
Okay. Well, more than 40 years after movies like Pretty Baby and Blue Lagoon made her a cultural star and underage sex symbol, Brooke Shields is opening up about how she survived the dark side of fame. Here's our Juju Chang.
Brooke Shields occupies rarefied air, even by Hollywood standards. Famous since grade school. She's a model, actress, author, Ivy League graduate, mother, daughter, and more.
For most people, it would feed their ego to the point where you couldn't get your head through the door, but you somehow managed to stay grounded.
Well, I made myself quite small for a very long time, so as not to be a threat, so as not to, rock the boat again.
Now the world is getting to know a whole new side of this woman, a side she wasn't always ready to share, thanks to a new 2-part docuseries now out on Hulu. Pretty Baby, named after the movie that stirred up so much controversy.
I was struggling to find my own voice. I wasn't told it was important to have agency.
It's not about Brooke Shields, but it's Brooke Shields as social commentary.
It's about finding your voice and finding your agency. And as women, we're not taught that.
This project comes at a moment when so many are taking a hard look back at how this country and the media has treated celebrities like Britney Spears, Lindsay Lohan, and Paris Hilton.
I just felt that the whole world saw me as this sex symbol, but inside I didn't feel that way at all.
Whole generations now re-examining the sexualizing of young women and girls using today's post-Me Too era perspective. The project is executive produced by ABC's George Stephanopoulos and his wife, actress Ali Wentworth, who is also one of Shields' closest friends.
What made you say yes to this project when so many had come to you asking to do them?
Ali came to me, and then she started talking to me about the theme being about the sexualization of young women. And I thought, oh, okay, now you're interesting me.
In the opening scene, you're being interviewed. I think it's the Mike Douglas show, right?
How do you feel about all this fuss that's being made over you?
I think it's kind of fun.
You really are an exquisite-looking young lady. I know you've been told that, but isn't she a pretty girl?
You're a young child. Here's a middle-aged man focusing on your beauty and talking about it in that sense.
I mean, there's a lasciviousness to all of it. You see in my face that it's uncomfortable. It didn't feel creepy to me because I was so young. It really all seems quite inappropriate as to the ease with which these supposed respected journalists and the press were so quick to reduce what I thought was a really beautiful film to a lowest common denominator.
That film she's talking about, the 1978 historical drama, Pretty Baby, a role that catapulted Shields to A-list fame. At the age of just 11, playing Violet, a little girl raised in a brothel who becomes a child prostitute.
From that moment on, I was no longer just a model who was an actress. I became a focal point for so many things, good and bad.
Even at the time, the film caused controversy, particularly in regard to Shields' 2 nude scenes. But most of the anger wasn't focused at director Louis Malle, but instead at someone much closer to Shields.
In some ways, your mom was demonized for allowing you to do it, and yet Louis Malle was celebrated as an artist.
I mean, it's such an interesting double standard, and it was the attacks on my mother. And yes, that is part of the conversation. I understand that. I really do understand the controversy. But nobody else was brought into any of it. There was no accountability to anyone.
Shields would go on to star in some of the biggest films of the 80s, including The Blue Lagoon when she was 14. And just a year later in Franco Zeffirelli's Endless Love. And of course, who can forget those Calvin Klein ads?
You want to know what comes between me and my Calvins? Nothing.
For Shields, there is a delicate line. She's incredibly proud of the films she made in those early years, but she readily admits she wouldn't have allowed her own daughters to take similar roles.
How do you balance putting your mom in context and really understanding her, but then also questioning some of her judgments?
You know, I would have never questioned her ever when I was younger. I couldn't afford to. But to be able to look back and just acknowledge that she made mistakes. I wouldn't make those same mistakes, but I wasn't a mother then. And I have girls now, and there's a lot that I've taken from her. So I look back and I think, yeah, that was not okay. But she thought she was doing the smartest thing in the world.
You give her so much grace.
You know why? Because there were things that I had such empathy for her pain and for her weakness and for her scars. And she was, on the one hand, such a force and such a fabulous broad and funny and beautiful, you know? You know, she was my mama.
In the docuseries, a particularly powerful moment plays out at the family dining table as her daughters talk about their mom's early films, which they admit they had not seen, like Pretty Baby.
Is there nudity in it?
Yes.
Are you nude?
I'm nude twice. With my little 11-year-old body.
Yeah, that's weird.
Weird. Why wouldn't you be able to see that movie today? Why wouldn't that movie be able to be made today?
I feel
like it's just everything's changed.
It's called child pornography, technically.
Also, just like everything is different now.
You do have shows like Euphoria where, you know, you have girls that are young playing characters that do go through sexual things. But
Yeah,
I
but
just
they're
think
not 11. They're all like 25 playing like 16.
I mean, your daughter at one point says, Mom, that's like child pornography.
To hear those opinions, I had no idea they heard about that. And you know, this sort of idea that the 25-year-olds today are now playing the 16-year-olds. And the difference to them, it stood out to them that this was an 11-year-old girl.
Okay, then let me ask you about TikTok. And let me ask you about Instagram. When I see, okay, by the way.
How is that different from...
You're like 16.
Okay, all right, that's my answer.
Post myself in a bikini.
I think it's because she's posting it herself. Yeah, she's posting it herself.
I think what's so interesting about that conversation, too, is that they believe and feel empowered by what they post. But they're still presenting themselves to be gazed at and to be liked and clicked and stared at and analyzed. And so it's slightly ironic in having those conversations. And there should be no shaming in it. I understand that. But there's this other side. But you have to own it, though, too. You know, you then can't complain about being objectified.
Shields eventually took a break from Hollywood and went to college at Princeton, where she says she gained confidence. That agency rocked, though, when she was trying to return to Hollywood, and she says a man she wanted to talk to about a movie role raped her.
I didn't fight that much. I didn't. I just absolutely froze. I thought my one no should have been enough. And I just thought, stay alive and get out. And I just shut it out.
You kept it secret for so long.
I couldn't handle any other way. I knew I needed to really find my own way of processing it.
And so what made you want to share it finally?
I didn't want to be less than authentic in a documentary that's all about this. To leave that out, it just would have felt kind of not right. And I have daughters now that are of the age where we really are having those conversations. I owned my narrative. You know, I owned my truth now.
Shields is hoping young people watching the docuseries walk away with not just an awareness of the exploitation of young women, but the lessons learned.
Is there one thing of which you're most proud?
That dinner table. You know, I mean, to have come through sort of all of it and have my feet on the ground, I'm most proud that I didn't become jaded and angry, and that, you know, that I fought for my talent. I made a decision, and I was very specific about it, about a husband, about New York, about education for my girls, about how my girls were going to be raised. And all my life, I knew that I needed a home to come back to when you leave the crazy. And it saved me.
You saved that little girl.
Yes, I think I did. I heard her.
Oh, wow. And our thanks to Juju for that. And Pretty Baby, Brooke Shields, is now streaming on Hulu. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Kana Whitworth. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thank you so much for streaming with us. And coming up in the next hour, the search for the leaker of top secret documents, what the intel reveals about the state of the war in Ukraine. And months after the first scheduled sentencing in the shooting of the rapper Megan Thee Stallion. Well, it's being delayed again. So why rapper Tory Lanez won't find out his fate for at least another week.
This is ABC News Live Prime.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Live reporting, breaking news, exclusives, award-winning, powerful, eye-opening. ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis. Streaming weeknights. Right now in America, with so much at stake, thank you for making ABC's This Week America's #1 news and politics show on Sunday mornings. This is where the newsmakers come first in the morning to be heard. America's #1 morning show.
How would your mom feel about your relationship with your brother now?
I can't imagine what it feels like to go from $20 billion to $100,000.
Yeah.
Are you worried about going to jail?
You write that you had low-grade depression. How'd you get out of that?
Wherever the story, ABC's Good Morning America is right there.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
You're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
You never know what you're going to get on this show. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yes, Whoopi! This mic on? Can you hear me out there?
Behind the scenes is always a better show.
Absolutely,
absolutely.
That's what people don't see during the commercial break.
Right, they don't.
What happened?
I had no idea really what I was getting myself into.
That day that we walked out, I treasure that day. I couldn't sit there.
You're doing good, Joy. You're doing good. Oh, yeah, baby.
It was crazy.
Behind the Table. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
Name, image, and likeness, or NIL. The 3 magic words that have upended the landscape of college sports as we've known it.
It's just the ability to make money through social media marketing.
It changed everything. My concern is, how is it handled? Critics will say people like yourself are buying these athletes. I mean, what do you say to that?
Cashing in the debate over paying college athletes. Impact by Nightline. Now streaming on Hulu.
Reporting from Monterey Park, California, I'm Robin Roberts. Wherever the story is, we're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Kana Whitworth, and thank you so much for streaming with us. We're monitoring several developments here at ABC News at this hour. There are new developments here, including the 6-year-old boy who's accused of shooting and wounding his teacher in Virginia. Well, now that boy's mother, Deja Taylor, is charged with felony child neglect and a misdemeanor accused of recklessly leaving a loaded firearm accessible to her child. The child's teacher, Abigail Werner, has filed a lawsuit against the school board saying she warned the school that the child had a gun with him that day and that he threatened people several times before shooting her. Taylor's attorney says she will turn herself into police this week. Millions of Americans are bracing for a record heat wave spreading across the country. Summer-like temperatures starting in the west. All that heat raising concerns about flooding from melting snow in those higher elevations. Also, you see there Chicago, New York, and Boston all warming up into the 70s and 80s. And a new warning from the FBI for anyone who likes to charge their phones on the go. The agency's Denver office warning against using those charging stations, you know, in malls and airports. Officials say thieves have figured out how to use public USB ports to introduce malware and monitoring software onto devices. So officials recommend carrying your own charger and your own cord and use an electrical outlet instead. And next tonight, 4 people are dead, 9 more injured after a gunman opened fire at a Louisville bank. Police say the suspect, a bank employee, was armed with a rifle and began shooting inside Old National Bank this morning. Trevor Ault is reporting from Louisville.
Tonight, authorities in Louisville, Kentucky say an employee of Old National Bank came to work this morning armed with a rifle, opening fire and live streaming the attack.
Within 3 minutes of being dispatched, officers arrived on scene and encountered the suspect almost immediately, still firing gunshots.
The gunfire echoing through the downtown streets in the middle of the morning rush.
Get out of your car! That's the shooter! That's the bank!
Inside the bank, some locking themselves in bathrooms, others reportedly hiding in the vault. Troy Haste says he ran when he saw the gunman entering their crowded conference room.
He just started, he had a long assault rifle, and you hear the shots just start firing.
What did he look like?
I didn't see his face.
Were you in a meeting?
Yeah, we were in the back conference room. Whoever's next to me got shot and hit blood's on me from it.
The blood still on his shirt. Today, Louisville police reading the names of the 4 victims killed.
Tommy Elliott, 63 years of age. Jim Tutt, 64 years of age. Josh Barrett, 40 years of age. And Juliana Farmer, 57.
Kentucky's Governor Andy Beshear says he was friends with multiple victims, fighting back tears as he remembered his close friend Tommy Elliott.
Tommy Elliott helped me build my law career, helped me become governor, gave me advice on being a good dad. It's one of the people I talk to most in the world, and very rarely were we talking about my job.
2 Louisville Metro police officers were also shot. Officer Nicholas Wilt graduated from the academy just 10 days ago. Today he was shot in the head and is now in critical condition.
I just swore him in, and his family was there to witness his journey to become a police officer.
Police naming the gunman 25-year-old Connor Sturgeon, saying he was killed in the shootout with authorities. Late today, law enforcement descending on what's believed to be his home. Sturgeon's LinkedIn profile shows he worked full-time at the bank for more than a year and had interned before that. But sources tell ABC News he was recently given notice he was going to be fired, and he left a note to his parents and friends indicating he planned to shoot up the bank. This mass shooting is at least the 15th in the country this month. It comes just 2 weeks after a former student killed 3 children and 3 adults at a Christian elementary school in Nashville.
And our thanks to Trevor, and we are moving now to Tennessee here. The political showdown drawing national scrutiny. Tennessee Democrats racing to reinstate 2 expelled lawmakers less than a week after they were ousted by the Republican-led state assembly. Just moments ago, though, Nashville's Metro Council voting to return Justin Jones to the legislature, filling his own vacant seat. His colleague, Justin Parson, could also be reappointed as early as Wednesday. ABC's Alex Perez is in Nashville for us.
Tonight, with hundreds rallying in support, Nashville City Council moving swiftly to reinstate expelled lawmaker Justin Jones. Local officials using their powers to return Jones to his seat in an emergency meeting.
I think there's a message that's being sent that we believe in representative democracy. And he was the one that got voted in. And so we're going to send them right back.
Voters are frustrated by the Republican supermajority's vote to expel Justin Jones and Justin Pearson from the Tennessee State House after they held a protest on the floor of the chamber with Representative Gloria Johnson. All 3 asking lawmakers to do more to protect children and teachers after the Nashville shooting that killed 3 9-year-olds, a principal, a teacher, and a beloved janitor.
We will not be silent.
Republicans say they violated decorum rules during that protest. In Nashville, where Justin Jones was elected, voter Brian Hardy calling the move outrageous.
They're trying to control guns. I mean, we need that. There's a lot of violence out here, a lot of people dying for no reason. And when they spoke up, I mean, they were penalized for basically nothing, and it wasn't right.
Republican legislators admonishing them.
Just because you don't get your way, you can't come to the well, bring your friends, and throw a temper tantrum with an adolescent bullhorn.
Representative Pearson on the floor.
We're not talking about politics. We're not talking about even gun violence. How many of you would want to be spoken to that way?
They are now being called a Tennessee 3. Gloria Johnson, who survived expulsion, asked why she wasn't removed.
Why do you feel like there was a difference in the outcome between your colleagues?
I will answer your question. It might have to do with the color of our skin.
I think there's no coincidence that the two youngest black lawmakers were kicked out by an almost entirely white 75-member caucus on strictly partisan lines.
Commissioners in Memphis considering similar measures to reinstate Justin Pearson.
What we are seeing is the erosion of our democracy. What we are seeing is an attack not only on the First Amendment, but the erosion of our democracy that should be of concern to everybody, regardless of political party.
And next here, Nightline anchor Juju Chang sat down with the three Tennessee lawmakers before that crucial vote today to reinstate Representative Justin Jones to fill his vacant seat. And she spoke with Tennessee lawmakers about gun control and what he says is the generational shift happening in his state.
I think this represents a turning point for young people.
That's right.
The Tennessee House Republicans have forever lost a generation. I think this has wakened up the sleeping giant in Tennessee, which are young people, which is Gen Z, which are these younger millennials who weren't active even in some regard. Like, you know, these young people, many of these middle school and high school students, they can't vote yet. And they've shocked the state capitol by coming in the thousands, walking out of school, and really bringing to life the energy in that place that this is the people's house. So we're seeing a generational shift happening. These young people have put on notice, my former colleagues, that your time is up, that it's time for a new generation of voices who are not going to wait to step into our power, but that if we weren't powerful, you would not be trying so hard to silence us and our representatives.
And now to the battle in court over access to the abortion medication mifepristone. It's been approved by the FDA for use for the last 2 decades, but a ruling by a federal judge in Texas may soon end that access nationwide. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, the Justice Department filing an emergency appeal trying to block a federal judge's ruling that would revoke the FDA's approval of the abortion drug mifepristone and take it off the market as soon as Friday. The DOJ writing, if allowed to take effect, the court's order would thwart FDA's scientific judgment and severely harm women.
And then this is the medicine for tomorrow. So you'll do the first dose.
The abortion pill was approved by the FDA more than 20 years ago and is used in more than half of all abortions in the U.S. But the Texas judge appointed by former President Donald Trump arguing the FDA's approval was based on plainly unsound reasoning. Tonight, executives from more than 400 pharmaceutical and biotech companies blasted the ruling, writing it ignores decades of scientific evidence and legal precedent. If courts can overturn drug approvals without regard for science or evidence, any medicine is at risk for the same outcome as mifepristone. Some Democrats and even some Republicans now urging the White House to defy the judge's order entirely.
This is an FDA-approved drug. I support the usage of FDA-approved drugs, even if we might disagree. It's not up to us to decide as legislators or even, as the court system that whether or not this is the right drug to use or not, number one. So I agree with ignoring it at this point.
Hours after the Texas ruling came down, a judge in Washington state issuing a contradictory ruling, blocking any change to status quo rights as it's related to the availability of mifepristone. But that ruling only applies to the 36 states where it is currently legal. The Texas ruling would apply to every state. Anti-abortion rights advocates preparing for a long legal battle.
Obviously, this is not the last stage and the last word on this issue, and we're ready to go to the next stage.
Now some Democratic governors building up a stockpile of the drug in case it's taken off the market.
At my request, the University of Massachusetts Amherst agreed to purchase approximately 15,000 doses of mifepristone. That's enough. That's sufficient to ensure coverage for well over a year.
Washington state already purchasing a 3-year supply.
Washington state will not allow a judge in Texas to deny the right of Washington women to this safe drug.
And our thanks to you, Rachel Scott, for that. And for more on this legal battle, I want to now welcome Washington State Governor Jay Inslee. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Governor. And let's first start. I'd like to hear your reaction to this ruling in Texas and the DOJ's emergency filing today to put a stay on the judge's decision involving mifepristone.
Well, first off, it's highly unusual. This drug has been used effectively and safely for over 2 decades now. And I'm always cautious about commenting on litigation, but it seems to me very unusual that some judge would, after 2 decades of safe usage, would peel back 2 decades of FDA approval. From this vantage point, it seems much more like based on ideology by a President Trump appointed judge who has shown his predilection to try to roll back this right that women have had now in our country for decades, rather than a decision on the merits. So it's very troublesome, but the good news is we have found a way in our state to protect the right of choice in our state, to make mifepristone available to our citizens. And I'm glad we've been able to do that, regardless of what the judge does. Even if the judge's ruling is upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court, we will be able to distribute this drug because of our state laws now that we have obtained 30,000 doses that are on hand in the state of Washington. So that's the good news.
Yeah, so let's talk about that decision here. It was last week that you announced you were purchasing, what, a 3-year supply of this abortion medication in preparation. You're not the only one. Democratic governors in California, Massachusetts doing the same thing. So tell me about the strategy that you see in stockpiling this drug.
Well, it's when we did it, it was an insurance policy, and it turns out it was needed. We anticipated the court's ruling in Texas. Under our state law, we are entitled to provide this pharmaceutical product to our citizens under our state law. And the judge can't stop us in Texas because under our state law, we are entitled to do this. But it was important that we obtain this product before the court's ruling. It's a bit of an anomaly that the FDA approval may have been necessary to deliver the product, but now that we have it, under our state law, we can distribute it. So that's the reason we wanted to get it physically in the state of Washington. We have to be ahead of the curve because they're going to come after the rights of women all across the United States. And it's a certain sad irony that for years, the Republicans said, well, this is a local decision. We don't want to have a national decision here. Now, we've got another threat out of Idaho, as you know, where Idaho is trying to punish intrude on the right to travel across state lines. So it just shows you the hydra-headed nature of this attack on women's rights in the United States.
Well, so I wanted to ask you about that in a couple ways here. First of all, as you mentioned, do you see any way this doesn't end up, before the Supreme Court? And then given the current balance of the court, are you concerned about access to this drug, especially considering some people that will be traveling to Washington to get it from other states?
I am concerned. As I said, I think we're in the clear. We're safe here for access to this pharmaceutical in Washington, but in other states, not so much. We should always be concerned about this Supreme Court. We've seen some things that were extremely troublesome from them, including their, ability to peel back 50 years of settled law. People who went on the bench who told the Senate in their confirmation hearings that they respected the concept that this was settled law. So yes, we ought to be concerned about this. At least one federal judge has ruled to the contrary here in Eastern Washington. And we are not powerless on this. We just need to vote. As people have voted in Kansas, when this was on the ballot in Kansas, people voted to protect this right. So I just think this is maybe a further wake-up call that a woman's right of choice is in every election across the United States for the foreseeable future. That's what we can do about this.
Governor Jay Inslee, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Turning now to the sentencing of rapper Tory Lanez in the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion, which has been delayed again. The sentencing has been pushed back as his new legal team attempts to set up a new trial. The sentencing was scheduled in January, 1 month after he was found guilty of shooting Megan. The court sentencing has been delayed multiple times since the original date, as Lanes is convicted on gun charges and negligence. He is facing a maximum sentence of 22 years and 8 months in prison if given the maximum sentence on each charge. He could also be deported back to Canada once time is served. And next to new reporting tonight into the damaging leak of top secret U.S. intelligence. Tonight, we have what the White House is now acknowledging, that they're saying they don't know who took these highly classified documents, and they don't know if there's more to come. Terry Moran is at the White House with more.
An alarming admission from the White House today about the extent of the damage from the growing number of classified U.S. military documents leaked online.
We don't know. We truly don't know.
The documents, some of which were posted on Twitter, Telegram, and other social media apps, include dozens of secret briefing slides for hundreds of top officials and other classified documents. And they reveal U.S. intelligence on everything from North Korea to Iran's nuclear program to detailed information about the war in Ukraine, including maps of Ukraine's air defenses, highlighting weaknesses and the rate Ukraine is expending crucial ammunition. Others painting a bleak picture of Russia's military operation. And some of these documents created as recently as March 1st, making the information even more timely and valuable. The White House admits they don't know if there's more coming.
We don't know what's out there, James. We don't know who's responsible for this, and we don't know if they have more that they intend to post. So we're watching this and monitoring it as best we can. But the truth and the honest answer to your question is we don't know. And is that a matter of concern to us? You're darn right it is.
Administration officials are reaching out to allies about all the recent leaks, with South Korea responding that they will take appropriate measures if necessary after the two countries look into the veracity of the leaked documents. Russia wouldn't acknowledge whether or not it's behind the leak, a Kremlin spokesman saying it is a common disease to blame Russia for everything. The White House in damage control mode.
Should the American people think that the administration is losing the battle against whoever wants to steal our secrets, whether it's foreign adversaries or hackers or whomever?
I think the American people need to know and deserve to know that we're taking this very, very seriously.
All right, our thanks to you, Terry Moran. We still have a lot more to get to tonight. Coming up, traveling to a galaxy far, far away without ever leaving Earth. An inside look at the surprises and major reveals from this year's Star Wars celebration. But next, thousands of migrants rescued at sea within the span of just a few days. We'll talk about the area that they're crossing to reach Europe.
Whenever news breaks,
the crush of families here in Poland.
Here in Kentucky, no match for the tornado. From Monterey Park, California, on the ground in Ukraine.
Reporting from Uvalde, Texas.
ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
From the scene of that deadly missile strike in Dnipro, Ukraine.
Reporting from the earthquake in Turkey.
From Charleston, South Carolina, on the 2024 campaign trail.
From Kathmandu, Nepal.
Truckee, California, covering record snowfall.
Traveling with the president in Mexico City.
Wherever the story.
Here at this airport in Tampa, it's already shut down.
Reporting from the nurses on the picket line.
Reporting from Jerusalem.
Here at 10 Downing Street in London.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is. We're going to take you there.
You're streaming
ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere. America's #1 streaming news.
Reporting from Chicago, I'm Alex Perez. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
And welcome back. We're tracking several headlines around the world tonight. 3,000 people have been rescued at sea by the Italian Coast Guard since Friday, as the numbers of migrants attempting to cross the Mediterranean surges. You see these images here. They're showing fishing boats departing from Libya 400 people were on board. Well, the boat started taking on water. This happened southeast of Sicily. There was another incident where 2 migrants died. Several more were reported missing after their boat sank near the Italian coast. Also in Iran, authorities are installing cameras in public places to identify women who defy the country's strict hijab law. Police on state-run media said that women caught on camera not covering their hair would receive a text message warning about potential consequences. Many have taken off their hijabs in protest since the in-depth police custody of Mahsa Amini, a young Kurdish woman arrested for allegedly violating that law. Also, there's some dramatic video from Tijuana, Mexico. Look at that. This building, several stories tall, just collapsed onto the roadside. This was following a landslide. So work crews had already cleared the area below, and there were no injuries reported. Also tonight, China is warning Taiwan that it is ready to fight if the country moves toward independence. And in a show of force, a record number of Chinese fighter jets flew near the island. ABC's Britt Clinett is in Taipei tonight.
Tonight, China's military declaring it's ready to fight after finishing 3 days of combat drills simulating a blockade to seal off Taiwan. The Taiwanese Defense Ministry saying it tracked a record 91 Chinese fighter jets in the last day of the exercises, dozens crossing over sensitive maritime borders around the island. China's army even releasing an animated video of how Taiwanese sites would be targeted in an attack. Beijing sending a clear signal over its claims to Taiwan and its anger over last week's meeting between Taiwanese leader Tsai Ing-wen with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in the US last week. Faced with China's looming threat, a growing number of regular citizens are learning to defend their homeland.
Right now, these guys are training in how to transition from a rifle to a handgun, the kind of combat techniques they say they're going to need to know if there's an invasion from China.
Wow, and that was Britt Clinett reporting for us tonight. Still to come here, the cast, the creators behind both the most popular and the upcoming Star Wars show are giving us a closer look at what's next for the fictional universe.
Name, image, and likeness, or NIL.
The 3 magic words that have upended the landscape of college sports as we've known it.
It's just the ability to make money through social media marketing.
It changed everything.
My concern is, how is it handled?
Critics will say people like yourself are buying these athletes. I mean, what do you say to that?
Cashing in the debate over paying college athletes. Impact by Nightline, now streaming on Hulu. With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television. Right now in America, with so much at stake, thank you for making ABC's This Week America's #1 news and politics show on Sunday mornings.
Okay, Star Wars fans, we take you to a galaxy far, far away. The 2023 Star Wars celebration taking place this year in London. Lama Hassan went into light speed as she catches up with the cast and creators of the most popular Star Wars shows, streaming now.
Star Wars fans, buckle up.
All right, kid. Hang on.
Season 3 of the hit show The Mandalorian is almost coming to an end.
You're going to see, what you haven't seen from Moff Gideon. I think you might get a glimpse of is what he really wants. So great surprises, I think, are coming.
So what will happen to everyone's favorite bounty hunter and his adorable sidekick, Grogu? The show stars not spilling all the beans. The Blade?
Well, the Blade is one thing I would love to recapture, of course. But there's also that pesky child.
With rumors of a Mandalorian Season 4 in the works, I tried using the Force to reveal any secrets.
Was it you who talked about Season 4 out
Were you
there?
talking about Season 4?
I was not talking about
I don't think
I'm trying.
I'm tight-lipped. I don't talk about the
people are
Season
talking
4,
about
no.
Season 4.
We've heard that play.
I heard
My tricks don't work on us.
The show's cast and creators getting together at this year's massive Star Wars celebration in London. Fans from around the world.
R2-D2
mingling with a few famous robots, dueling with certain villains, and eagerly awaiting the announcements made throughout the franchise. The beloved Jedi Rey, played by Daisy Ridley, making a return to the big screen. Fans are fired up for season 2 of Andor, dropping in 2024.
How would you describe chapter 2?
It's a comedy now. Singing, comedy.
Yeah, the idea, it's too late for the idea. But it is even more intense. Even though it's called Andor, it's an ensemble, and it's about a revolution, and it's about many characters. And it's going to be intense for audiences because we have to hear all these stories, and there has to be time for all of that.
And while fans are excited to see some familiar faces, there are some new travelers coming along for the ride.
It's been a while. Things have changed.
Disney Plus giving fans a first look into the highly anticipated series Ahsoka.
I hope that we surprise them and take them on a journey and surprise them in the way that the animation has done.
But some shows are still a mystery, like the new thriller series The Acolyte.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your character?
No. She is contending with the light and the dark within her.
And Skeleton Crew featuring Jude Law.
This is your Star Wars debut. So what's it like entering this galaxy? What is it like being on set?
It's kind of an interesting mixture of being somewhere very familiar. Because, you know, I was like 6 when I stepped into this galaxy. It was a part of my play. And so it was a lot of familiarity and a lot of obviously kind of pinch me moments where you thought, oh, no, I've got to, this is extraordinary.
Oh, that's interesting to hear from Jude Law, a fan of it growing up. And Lama Hassan, pretty good with a lightsaber. Our thanks to you for that. And Star Wars, of course, is produced by a division of Disney, ABC's parent company. And that is our show for tonight. I'm Kana Whitworth. ABC News Live is here for you all night long with the latest news, context, and analysis. And you can always find us on Hulu, Roku, the ABC News app, and, of course, at abcnews.com.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of